All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Ask the Nanny. Tonight, we have our friend Kathy Webb with us from Homework Solutions. And she is going to tell us just a little bit about herself first and a fun fact. And then we'll get started on all the nanny benefits, the do's, the don'ts, because they change from day to day to day to day. So,
A fun fact too, huh?
a
Okay.
fun fact.
I'm Kathy Webb. I have been with Homework Solutions now for 28 years. I'm one of the co-founders, and we've worked with 50, 60, 70,000 families over time. It's a moving target. It's hard to tell at any point in time. But I have lived in this nanny payroll space for the better part of my adult life. So I pretty much know what I'm talking about and know where to find the answers when I don't have one. And a fun fact, my first 2 years of college, I worked part-time to pay tuition as a security guard. How's that?
Really? Now that
all
is a
100,
fun
all
fact.
105 pounds of me at the time.
I can't imagine you as a security guard.
Yeah. I just walked
Wow.
around and just made sure everything was locked when it was supposed to be locked. And that was it.
Okay.
And I could study a lot
Oh, wow.
in between rounds.
In between rounds.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get started. Tell me about what we can expect during this COVID-19 because it's gotten to the point where I can't keep up. I don't know what's the truth and what's the lie because everybody keeps saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I'm like,
Okay.
so,
Well, let's back up and say that most of the labor laws, et cetera, have been touched in this coronavirus response to allow benefits to people that never before were able to get benefits and to enhance benefits to those who were eligible already. So the whole idea has been to try to minimize the economic input or the economic impact to the nation's workers, with the hope that things open up a little bit in the near future. And I just heard on the news that that is the plan, that the president has given the governors the go ahead to, at a state level, start a phased in reopening of the economy. So that's good news. Um, the first response that came, yeah, the numbers are, I mean, compared to when they were talking about 250,000 people dying, you're down to like maybe 60. That, I mean, that's a number, but that's a whole
that's
lot
a
better than what we
whole
were
lot
on top.
better.
Right, right. So the very first out of the gate response was something called the uh, uh, Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And that was passed at the end of March. But what most people don't realize is it wasn't effective until April. So um, what that did was it provided emergency paid sick leave and emergency family leave for people that never ever were covered by emergency paid sick leave or by Family and Medical Leave Act. It took it from everyone from that has 500 employees or less, and that includes households. So that's the good news. Um, what that act did was said, hey, if you're subject to a quarantine order, and I want to make a distinction between quarantine and stay home. But if you're told by a medical professional or a governmental authority that you must stay in your home and not come out for some period of time until testing is done, or you've sat there for 2 weeks because you traveled internationally, whatever that reason that you were given is, you can get some emergency paid leave. Um, because it would be you can get it at 100% of your regular salary for up to 80 hours over 2 weeks.
Okay. So your maximum was 80 hours.
80 hours. So if you're a nanny and you're used to working overtime, yeah, that didn't work so well. You could get you get 80 hours at your regular hourly rate, but it beats a jab in the eye with a sharp stick, right?
Well, something is better than nothing at all.
Right, right. And what this says is that if you're an employee and if you, I'm so sorry, but I keep getting pop-ups. Another fun fact is I had 2 grandbabies while I've been on quarantine, so I keep getting
Oh,
pictures showing up on my phone. But if you are an employee and you're being paid legally, and you fill out a request form, which we have at homeworksolutions.com, and you can find them multiple places online because the Department of Labor came out with a guideline, and you can attest that you have a qualifying reason to need to miss work. You can get for to take care of yourself 100% or up to 80 hours over 2 weeks. If you're caring for a dependent, so this could be your spouse, your parent, your child, you get 2/3 of your pay. Okay.
is 2/3 of your pay rate over 80 hours?
2/3 of your hourly rate for 40 hours a week.
That's kind
Okay.
of like unemployment.
It's probably a little bit more generous than most unemployment is, but yeah, that's the same idea. It's the same idea. And then if you need extended time, and particularly if you have a child that's not in school that you need to supervise because you don't have a co-parent that is available to do it, don't have one at all, whatever the deal, maybe your co-parent is an essential worker and can't take off, whatever. You can continue to get that 2/3 pay for another 10 weeks for a total of 12. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a big question of what is a stay home order versus quarantine, and what is essential workers. And I
Writing all
have
this down because I know it's somebody's going to ask me this.
that's okay. And I want to start by saying this is somewhat uncharted territory because we've never been in this situation before, and some of this stuff is likely to get settled in the courts. But the way that the common way that it's being looked at right now in payroll land, and in payroll land we have attorneys on call, not just Homework Solutions, but we belong to much larger associations that the associations all go together and they get the attorneys to write the opinions. But in fact, I'm in those groups with some of my competitors that we go on these Zoom meetings, and I say hi to the people I see at conferences. So, but basically, a stay-home order allows you to leave home for certain things. You can go to the grocery store, you can go to the doctor's, you can go to the drugstore, you can go out and exercise as long as you maintain social distance. That's not a quarantine. A quarantine order says you cannot leave your house, and a quarantine order is given to you by a medical professional or a governmental authority. So you might have, say, for example, flown home from Italy the 15th of March. Well, Italy is a big hotspot, and everyone that flew in was told you must self quarantine, stay in your house for 2 weeks, find someone to bring you groceries. You're not going to work. If you want to telework, that's fine, but you're not going to work. Um, that was an order to stay home, quarantine, stay home. What we're calling stay home orders in the press and stuff is a different thing. I mean, I can go to the grocery store. I can go take a walk with my next door neighbor for an hour or so. As long as we are walking, side by side but apart, we're all good, right? That's not a quarantine. So I highly doubt that anybody that does not have medical documentation or governmental documentation that they've been told to quarantine is going to be able to use the stay home orders as the reason to get this pay. But
Okay.
that's okay. But that's okay.
I
All
have a
right.
question for you.
Sure.
But I'll let you finish because
Okay.
you're probably
So
going to answer the
the
question.
re- the, it's okay because there's something else there to replace your income, and that's unemployment.
Mhm.
And in fact, the unemployment insurance, in many cases, for the lower wage workers, you're going to get more money on unemployment than you would if you went to work. Because in addition to however your state calculates your unemployment benefit, which is somewhere between 40 and 60% of your regular weekly wage is typically how it works. Depends on the state. Some states are more generous than others. You're going to get an extra $600 flat on top of it.
Wow.
And unemployment insurance typically has a 1 week waiting period. So you can get fired on Friday and you can't start receiving unemployment until a week from the next Monday. They've done away with the waiting period. Now,
So it takes about 2 weeks basically in order for you to get the process started
the
and get
process
the
might
money.
even take longer than that right now, but
Okay.
you will get all that money back. There's no 1 week without pay the way it would be in a typical unemployment situation. Okay. So that's the good news. The not so good news is that unemployment compensation is only for people with legal work eligibility. So the nannies that are not documented and properly visaed to work in the United States that are working here do not have access to unemployment insurance. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like that's the way it is. That's the bad side. But the good side is that if you couldn't qualify for this paid sick leave, not to worry, you can qualify for the unemployment because the stay home orders qualify for unemployment. If your boss tells you to stay home or the government says you're not essential, stay home, you can file for unemployment and just say, I couldn't get to work. But that brings up the question of what's an essential worker?
We have been going back and forth with this.
Right. So childcare is defined as essential work in certain circumstances. And it's particularly in circumstances where it's childcare provided for essential workers. So if your mom boss, dad boss, they're doctors, they work in the trauma center, they work in the ER, they're being called in to treat COVID people, they're told they can't take off, or they are managing a distribution center for Amazon or FedEx, or they're doing any one of those other essential jobs that are out there, working in the grocery industry, et cetera. And they need you to work and you are comfortable enough to get there to work. Your situation is not, you have to take 5 subway cars and change trains here, there, and everywhere. And you're going, oh, no, that's not me. If that's the case, then you can go to work. You could keep working. They can keep paying you. Life goes on, except you're wearing gloves and a mask every time you go to and fro. But if your boss trades on Wall Street and has a 7-figure income, they're still not essential. And if you didn't feel like you were comfortable going to work because New York, for example, has a stay-home order, and you go, well, I live in Brooklyn and they're in Manhattan and it's, a bus and 2 trains to get there, you could say, I couldn't get to work because of the stay-home order and file for unemployment insurance. So that part is all good. Yeah, it's about time.
I know, right?
So unemployment, you can be in 2 different statuses when you can be laid off, which is essentially you're discharged, or you could be furloughed. And people use those terms interchangeably, but furloughed basically means you're going to be called back to work and your benefits are being carried over while you're gone. So that can be, say your employer is contributing, $400 a month to your health insurance. They can keep doing that for you. Even though you're not working, you're furloughed, but you can apply for unemployment. So it's sort of like more temporary. Laid off is like, yeah, well, we might get you back, but how many people know auto workers that have been laid off for 3 or 4 years before they ever get the callback order? So it really depends, in that case, their benefits aren't continued. Their benefits might have been continued for 30 days at the initial layoff, and then that's it. It's gone. So when you hear those 2 terms used for purposes of collecting the benefit, it doesn't matter. Okay. But if you're the nanny that has an enhanced benefit like a Metro card, contribution to unemployment or to your health insurance, for example, you might ask your employer, can you just please furlough me and keep, I'll dealing with the rest of it if you'll just keep giving me the $400 a month to help pay for my insurance, because I'm going to take a cut here. I could use some help. And a lot of employers are happy to do that because they want the worker ready to return to work the minute that they can return to work. They don't want to go out looking for another nanny, so they want to keep people on board.
Because the kids are already going through enough stress. We don't need a new nanny
Yeah.
to stress us out further.
So, but do remember, unemployment insurance is only available to US citizens, green card holders, and others who have appropriate work visas. It's not available to the undocumented. Now, there's another question. What if you're being paid off the books? If you are being paid off the books and if you are let go, you have a decision to make, and it's your decision to make. Your employer doesn't really have anything to say about it. It's up to you to decide the risk reward here. And you're a US citizen or a green card holder or whatever, that it's worthwhile doing this. You can go and file for unemployment. Your request will eventually be granted. It will take a little bit longer because there's a little bit more paperwork back and forth. But your employer will be outed. And your employer is the one who has to go back and pay all the back payroll taxes and all the back unemployment taxes and all the penalties. So that's the reason. As soon as this stuff started happening, this is like my third time going through a crisis like this. There was like 9/11, and then there was that 2008. Like, oh my gosh, everyone lost their jobs all at the same time. We've offered for families that say, hey, my nanny does deserve unemployment, and I was thinking I could get away with paying off the books, but I'd like to get on the books. We're offering to prepare their household payroll taxes for 2019 at no cost, as long as they stay on for another year with Homework Solutions. So it's basically a BOGO. And that lets the nanny get access to her benefits. Boom. Because they'll be registered and their taxes will, have been filed and paid. And there's no going back and forth and investigating and this, that, and the other thing. And the really good news is because the 2019 tax filing deadlines have been extended, the families don't have penalties on the federal basis. And that's the biggest piece of their, that's the biggest piece of their tax burden. So, a family that owes $5,000 in back taxes that's been paying their nanny $800, $900 a week, they go, okay, well, I'm going to be whole in 6 weeks. And it's not going to cost me anything more. And she's got up to 39 weeks of benefits. And I don't know when I'm going to be back to work. And it depends what your employer does for a living, whether they're going to come back fast or not. That the people that provide medical care that is like plastic surgery or, that kind of stuff, they haven't been working. They haven't been working since the beginning of March, when they started emptying the hospitals of all of the elective surgeries. And, people aren't going to be going back very fast to get that kind of stuff done. Even things like knee replacements and hip replacements, because the people who tend to get them tend to be in the higher risk zones. They're putting them off. They go, you know what? I can hurt for an extra 6 months until I'm pretty sure that there's no more COVID in my hospital.
Right.
So those types of medical professionals aren't working. How many nanny employers own restaurants or own clubs or own, think of Los Angeles and the entertainment business. I mean, they're closed down and they'll probably be closed down for a while. So the idea of get whole with your 2019 taxes and let your nanny get these unemployment benefits until such time as she's back on her feet, either with you or with somebody else, is, I think, one worth considering. The other thing is that you're raising your hand to the IRS instead of the IRS coming knocking on your door. And
by the
time the IRS gets to do that, it's going to be a year and a half down the road, and then you're going to owe penalties and interest. So, which in 2 years' time can add 50% to your tax bill. You're not going to get that in the bank.
What about NCSs?
How about NCSs? You're always asking this question.
And yes, I need to know about me. I was just released. I came home. I was in the middle of a contract. I came home. And we're waiting and we're waiting. And the baby started sleeping overnight. And she called me and said, "Guess what? He's sleeping. We don't need you anymore."
Or
I'm
were you
like,
employed? Were you employed by them, or were you putting yourself out as a contractor?
"Well, I was a contractor."
All right. Well, the good news is that contractors can apply for unemployment. It's going to be based on what you declared as your self-employment income in 2018 or 2019, depending if you filed your 19 return yet. But you will. I mean, it's not going to be as nice as if you were an employee, but you could do
Yeah.
it as long
Okay.
as you were reporting that income.
Yes. I was
I mean,
reporting it and paying
I'm
taxes on
pretty
it too.
sure you were, but I know that that's not always the case.
This is true. This is true. Because some families, it depends on how high net worth they are. They're like, okay, well, this is just throwaway money. You're taking care of the kids, and they will the main nanny. They will take the child care charge off of the main nanny because we're just there for 3 or 4 months, and you're gone.
Right. No, I understand. I understand the logic between the employee being treated as an employee versus being treated as a contractor, but
Mm-hmm.
not everyone who's treated as a contractor reports all of the income that they
This
earn.
is true.
And that this is where, when you're cheating the tax man in the back years, this is where it comes back to bite, because those back numbers are what are used as the calculation for your future benefit.
So you get that little $200-300 instead of $800-900
Right.
dollars.
Exactly. I mean, and that's all you pay taxes on. So sorry, so sad. So one thing to remember though with unemployment insurance is that that's taxable income. And a lot of times people that receive it, especially when they receive it over a long period of time, they sort of forget, overlook it, whatever. You can ask the unemployment agency to withhold your federal income taxes from that, and your state income taxes. If you're not really good at that kind of stuff, I advise you to do that, because if you end up a half a year on unemployment, which I hope no one does, but practically speaking, some people will. Um, you're not going to want to have to file your taxes at the end of the year and had made $20,000 off of unemployment and not had paid any income taxes in on it, because I mean, people live to their means, and if your means has been everything, including what should have gone to the government, and you've lived off of it, you don't have it anymore. So it's far better to have them take it out. But do remember
Exactly.
that that is taxable income. And what else do I have here? These economic impact payments. Is everyone getting their checks in their bank
At
accounts?
$1,200.
Yeah, yeah. So those checks started going out last Friday. Those payments started going out last Friday. And on Wednesday, how did I get myself back in the middle here? Um, my arm's getting
It's
tired.
confusing.
That's all right. On Wednesday, the irs.gov website launched a way for you to update your banking information, because they're not going to send any checks out until the end of the month to people they don't have banking information for. And they're trying in the next 10 days to collect as much banking information from people as they can, so that they can direct deposit these payments rather than worry about addresses. Oddly enough, people keep their banking relationships longer than they keep their actual physical addresses. And I can attest to that. I've had the same bank account and routing numbers since like 1995. So, and I've lived different places since then, but I've just kept the same bank. So,
My husband since 2005.
right.
So about 15 years. I was like,
Right. But
yeah, I
like I said,
2005.
people will change apartments, move houses, and what have you more frequently than they change their banking relationships. So if you have not received a refund via direct deposit to your bank before, or if you have not made electronic payments to the IRS from your bank account, which means that they have your banking information. If you've only ever dealt with this by writing a check or receiving a check, and you want that economic impact payment sooner, go to irs.gov and click on the link for the economic impact payments and update your data. You'll get it faster. because like I said, they're waiting until the end of the month. And some people are going, oh, what are they waiting for? Blah, blah, blah. Well, they would rather get it sent to the right place than have it out there in the world and then have to wait for it to either become a stale check. Once they've mailed the check,
It,
it's 90 days. It's good for 90 days. So they are not going to give you another one sooner than that. So do consider going and updating that information. Who qualifies for those economic impact payments? Basically, anybody that's worked on the books in 2018 or 2019. You're going to get $1,200 per person, per adult, in the household. If you're single, 75,000 or less. If you're married, 150 or less. And then you get an extra 500 for each dependent child 16 or younger.
okay, I have a question from
Uh-huh.
one of our viewers, and she's asking, can an employer make you make up for lost services if they keep paying you? They want me to work more hours with a new baby, but nothing extra. Is this
No,
legal? How do you rebuff? No, it's not legal.
it's never legal. Payment
Never
is made for
legal.
a 7-day work week, and it's a
That's
wage.
banking hours.
Yeah, it's a wage and hour violation if that's exactly right. It's called comp time or banking hours. If you go to homeworksolutions.com and put in the search bar banking hours or comp time, there's a whole bunch of information about it there.
That's
So
how you rebuff, Benita. Go to homeworksolutions.com and get the information printed out because it's going to be worth it to you and present it, or just send the link to your family.
right, and say sorry, that's not the way it works, and express appreciation because the family that is paying appreciates their nanny. And to be real, like someone might, I know nannies that are already talking about, like, I'm going to give them a date night every other week for the next 2 months just to thank them. Well, you
Yes,
can do whatever you want to do, but they can't make you do it. So
right.
the distinction there.
There's a volunteerism and then there's a no
Right,
fankism.
right.
So understand the difference. If you're volunteering to show your appreciation for your family, that's one thing. But they cannot make you legally make you come into work and say, okay, so we're going to add 5 more hours a week until you make up this. You could be a whole year waking up five
Yes,
hours a week.
right. Exactly. The other thing about those economic impact payments is that those are never going to be taxed. The way that law was written, I know it's like a free lunch finally. The way
That's
that
what I
law
was
was
going to
written
buy.
was it's an enhanced income tax refund against your 2020 taxes. It doesn't change what your refund would have been no matter what. It's an extra tack on to your 2020 tax refund that's being prepaid. What that also means is that people that don't get the checks or they didn't get their tax returns in on time, and so they missed the first round, they missed the second round, they'll eventually catch it up when they file their 2020 taxes. Now, everyone wants it now, but we know that you might have moved 3 times, closed your bank account, changed this, changed that, and oh, by the way, didn't go to tell the IRS any of this yet. So your check is going to be sitting there in limbo because they don't know what to do with it.
You got several people cheering over here. Jennifer
Yeah.
says, wait, really? I heard it was going to be taxed and count as income.
No,
Woohoo!
no. Unemployment insurance does. Unemployment insurance is,
Unemployment insurance, but the stimulus
but
check
this
doesn't.
stimulus check is not. No, no, ma'am.
Right. So that's a free $1,200. You can get your nails done.
Well, or something.
Well, you have to wait, but you can get your nails done. So
Right.
I
Well, there's a
have,
lot of people for whom that means groceries because they've been let
oh,
go.
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
it's one of those things that in order to get the money out fast to the people that need it, they can't be too particular about trying to determine who needs it and who doesn't. They just make the assumption if you make more than $75,000 a year, you don't need it all. It phases out, and by the time you hit like 98,000, it's zero.
Wow.
So
Okay, I have a unique question to ask. She sent this to me last night and asked me to be sure to ask you. She says, Nanny became ill with the virus that mimicked the symptoms of COVID-19, but could not get tested because she didn't meet all the criteria. 14 days after Nanny became ill, a co-worker and mom boss became ill. Neither one of them meet the qualifications for being tested, but they both still have to quarantine. My
Right.
question is, how do we handle Nanny's PTO? Day one was mutual agreement Nanny would stay home to self isolate. Day two, Nanny had to use a vacation day. Day 3 through 16 were covered as PTO following the federal guidelines. And day 17 plus, should the nanny be furloughed because the nanny family is now quarantined for the foreseeable future? Um, this may this way
Okay.
she can
So
attempt to get
there's
unemployment.
yeah, there's a couple of things going on here. First off,
Okay.
it depended when this started because remember, this emergency paid sick leave does not start until time after April 1st.
Oh, well, she got sick. Day one was let me see, March 31st. Day two was
Okay.
April the
So
1st.
the time after April 1st, I mean, the family didn't have to pay her for March 31st. But because she was told, look, we need to you need to self quarantine for 14 days. And this is what I'm telling you. This is different than a stay home order. A
Mm-hmm.
doctor or a medical authority, a clinic, somebody said, look, we have limited tests. I'm not sure that you have it. Go home and stay home for 14 days. If it gets worse, call us back. And if after 14 days you're okay, you're free to go about your business. Okay, so that's a quarantine.
Right.
Okay, and so the employer rightfully was paying her for that. If at the end of that quarantine, the employer didn't need her services for whatever reason, in this case is because they're quarantined, then she should file for unemployment starting on that 14th day, as this, or whenever the employer stops paying her, because right, practically speaking, the employer might still be paying her. I don't know, but file for unemployment. Tell them that I'm furloughed, that my boss, I can't get into my work site, is the actual reason I can't get into my site. My work site is closed.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'm hoping to go back to work when they reopen, and whenever that is, if it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, hopefully most of these nannies will be needed again.
Yes. I'm truly hoping that because whew, that would be a big blow. Now,
Yes.
working as an NCS is it's hard enough because we have to plan ahead, save money ahead because we don't know when the next job is coming. But as a nanny, you're expecting that paycheck either every week or every 2 weeks, and now you have no clue when it's coming.
Right. Right. Which is why I wanted to explain that there are ways and resources that you can tap into. And this unemployment with the extra $600, I think I can't swear to this, but I think the $600 bonus or top off is for 13 weeks, but the total unemployment length of time has been extended out to 39 weeks, which is 3 quarters. So that's there to help you. And a lot of times people go, oh, I don't want to file because I don't want to ding my employer's record. They've It's already been told that none of these COVID related work stoppages and unemployment claims are going to affect the employer's previous work history. So it's unemployment insurance, and the way it gets paid is similar to like car insurance. Like an employer that lays off people all the time and has lots of claims is like the person that runs into trees and fences and telephone poles. Okay. So they pay more insurance because
Right.
they have more claims. Well, in this case, an employer that has otherwise a very good record, but because of COVID had to let their worker off, they're not going to get their rate changed. And the state fund pays for the benefits. The family has already paid the tax. The tax goes into one big pool, just like your insurance goes into one big pool. When you make your insurance payment, it's not going into something that's tagged. That one was for Kathy. No, it goes into the pool, and then the people that need it, it comes back out. So I pay $800 a year on one of my vehicles, and I had a situation that ended up costing $1,700. I didn't have to pay the difference. It's what I was into the pool. The poor
Right.
guy that ran into the back of me had a bill, but
But save some for Angela. That's all I'm
okay.
gonna say. Save some in the pool for me, because somebody running in the back of me. I, I tell you, last year was horrible with accidents. But back to the subject at hand. When when we go to file for unemployment and we quote unquote out our parents because they paid us under the books off the
Uh-huh.
table.
Right.
So off the books under the table. I said that's completely
Yes,
wrong.
I understood what you.
But how long does it take for them to catch up? Do we to me,
So what you
I would
do
tell my parents, I'm getting ready to file for unemployment.
exactly,
And this
exactly,
is what is going to happen when I file for unemployment, because essentially they're going to take care of their family. I need to take care of my family. I'm human
exactly,
too.
exactly. And in all honesty, I mean, even though some families might be initially a little bit upset, they are all really at the end of the day they understand. So what you do is you say, look, I need to go file for unemployment. You don't need me now. There's no way I can go pick up another gig. I need to pay my rent. I need to make my car payment. I need to keep my medical insurance. I have needs. I need to eat. Um,
Hello.
and I've told families this, for 28 years, is that when it comes push to shove, and the nanny is going to either have an empty pantry or give you up and get some food, they're going to give you up. And it's not doesn't make them a bad person. It just means that this whole idea of we're going to save money by not paying taxes did not work out.
Right.
Okay, so let them know, um, and let them know that it's one of those things. It's a pay me now or pay me later. That if they want to get this taken care of, that Homework Solutions, if they mention the COVID-19 special, will give them a year when they pay for a year. So we'll catch them up on 2019 and
Hmm.
charge them for 2020. And even if they don't need, they've got 3 months where they don't have someone. So sorry, so sad. But I mean, we're going to charge you for a year for up to 2 years of tax filings, which is generous. But we want the nannies to have access to the benefit without undue delay.
Oh,
And the families can pay up. They're going to owe a little bit of back penalties to the state, but to the federal government, if they do it all before July 15th, they're not going to owe a penalty to the federal government because the tax deadlines all got extended. So it's now's the time to do it if you're going to. If the family still chooses to do it, however, and ignore it, you can't help that. You have to be responsible for yourself, and you have to be
sure.
responsible for your own economic, well-being. And if they don't want to do their fair share, that's not on you. You just go ahead and apply anyway. And you're going to give up information. You're going to give up their name, their address, their phone number, what you did for them, um, and how much you earned, and when did you start and stop. And that information will be used. It will be sent as an inquiry to the family. The family has a very limited amount of time to respond. Typically, it's 7 days. Some places it's 10. That's why we have some staff in the office opening the mail every day, because these things are coming in every single day right now. And we want families to have the opportunity to respond on time and not drag it out.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I love that you all. I'm trying to create a banner so that everyone can remember this. And those who are watching this after will know that you all are offering a COVID-19 special to parents.
Yep. I mean, we want to make sure that the nannies have access to the benefits. and they deserve access to the benefits. I mean, I've been preaching this for how long? But and it takes it honestly it takes dire circumstances like 9/11 or the 2003 real estate collapse, things like that, that wake people up. And if you talk to career nannies that have been around for more than a decade, most of them have lived through something like this before, and they know a whole lot of people that had what I would call come to Jesus moments of, okay, I am a convert here.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
I love
I'm
those come to
I'm a
Jesus
convert.
moments.
I'm a believer. I should have done it this way the whole time. I never thought that I would be like looking at, goose eggs coming into my bank account for weeks on end. And yeah, now we know there's a reason.
There is a reason. Get it done. Encourage your parents to use homework solutions, and then we won't have this problem, whether it be a pandemic or not. They
Right.
won't have this problem.
Yeah. I mean, it happens with Hurricane Sandy did it too. Like there's stuff that happens all the time. Generally speaking, it happens geographically. And so, like the New York nannies learned after 9/11, and then the New York nannies learned again after 2008 real estate collapse. And the LA nannies, if you think of a market where this kind of stuff went down, that's when they suddenly know people that go, what was they going to do? The people that we need to be holding in prayer and in our thoughts are the nannies that aren't documented, because they've got very few choices right now.
Yeah.
um, and I know quite a number of them that are continuing to work even though they don't feel comfortable doing it because they have to. And
That breaks my heart.
I
That
know it
breaks my
doesn't it
heart.
doesn't matter if there's a stay home order or not. Their boss says, I need you. So you need to come in and you need to change your clothes in the hallway and go to work, and then change back and go back home every night, or the ones that say, you know what, you need to stay with us for the next month. And they're going, well, what about my 7-year-old? And he goes, well, you want to check? Or do you want to, can't grandma take care of them, or your cousin or somebody else? It's like, oh my God. So these women, they really need any kind of help that we can give them. The other thing is I wanted to squeeze in, if you don't mind,
No, go
is
right ahead.
Homework Solutions is part of a coalition that includes other payroll companies like GTM and HomePay, and the International Nanny Association, and the Alliance of Professional Nanny Agencies, and Nanny Palooza, and National Domestic Workers Alliance, and a number of others, as well as a whole lot of nanny agencies and just plain old people, to bring attention to fair and legal payroll. And there is a website that's been put up for this. And if you support it, you can go in and pick your category of an individual, a business, an association, and sign yourself up as supporting fair and legal pay. It's fair and legal pay, all spelled out.com. And it's sort of ironic that this was launching on March 15th. And you have to believe, like,
I remember that.
when you see the like the artwork and the website, you realize that it was in the works well before then, because no one could do that in a day.
Right,
But
right. That's impossible.
right, but sign, if this is something that you agree with, that fair and legal pay is something that is not a benefit, it's a right. um Go and sign up and add your name and add your voice.
I have signed up.
Good, thank you.
I have signed up. As a matter of fact, I had Rachel on here talking about it.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
I was on. That was back in March. I was on top of it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Homework Solutions has volunteered a nice chunk of Rachel's time to keep this going together. We're not getting paid for that. We're paying
Right,
Rachel,
right.
but we're doing it because we believe it's the right thing to do, and it's important to bring everyone under the tent. It can't be, one person can't lead the charge. Everyone needs to be charging in the same direction at the same time together.
Village. We work as
Yes,
a village. Come on,
exactly.
village. Let's work together and let's demand the rights that are. It's already our right. It's just that we've
Right.
been.
It's not a benefit, it's a right.
It's a right. It's already we already have the right. We just need to enforce it because if we don't demand it, it's not going to happen. They're just going to keep on. Oh, they're just a nanny. Oh, they just, they just, the babysitter.
Right.
And some people see, they just eat popcorn and, drink tea all day,
Yeah.
kids running around doing nothing.
I think there's
But
a whole
this is
lot of
hard.
parents that are being disabused of that notion right this very moment.
Yes, I was just
It
about to
isn't as
say
easy
that.
as it sounds when you get your pantyhose on and go out the door in the morning.
Yes, they're realizing that it is a whole lot more work and they have to take the time that they had to that extra time that they had to lounge around in the shower, read the newspaper first thing in the morning, sip their coffee while they're reading. Oh, you don't have that time anymore because guess
Right.
what? Little Johnny's like, bam, 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 mommy, 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 what are you doing in there?
Yep. Yep.
So
Exactly. Or they're trying to do a conference call for work.
yes. And
I worked from home when I had two little ones, and I just
wow.
could not wait for nap time. And also for 3 o'clock when the high school girl down the street would come in and take them out to play. And I would have
Wow.
to, and I worked on the East Coast with people on the West Coast. And so that was right after lunchtime for them.
Oh, but that
And
was a good time
yeah, and
then.
so I would like go, okay, we need to schedule our calls from between, noon and 2:30 your time so that we don't get interrupted. And we had the old like sock on the doorknob trick, just like in college and or when you had a roommate when you were in your 20s,
The
you're like,
scarf.
yeah, don't come in if you see something on the doorknob.
Yes. I created so many stop signs because I work with a lot of stay-at-home moms, but I've
Right.
created that stop sign and that stoplight and go light. And it's like, okay,
There's
now
whatever
get the
works,
turn back over.
as long as everyone understands what the signal is, it's all good.
That's
But
right. But yes.
so, are there any other questions there?
Let me look. Let me look. Let me look.
Okay.
Thank you. Fairandlegalplay.com. Fairandlegalplay. Can a off the book nanny file for unemployment? Yes, Bernice. Yes, you can. And what's the website? The website is fairandlegalpay.com and homeworksolutions.com.
We actually posted up in our COVID resource center at homeworksolutions.com much more detailed information about applying for unemployment and how this works. So I know I went over it like in 5 minutes out loud, but if you want to read an article in 5 minutes, and people sometimes are visual learners instead of oral learners, and or refer back to it, it's right there. I think it's the second article in the list.
Okay. Jennifer has a question. She said, since companies can offer documentation work visas for employees from other countries, they think are irreplaceable. Can nanny employers also offer such work visas?
Okay, that's a little bit of a complicated question, but I know a little bit more than the average person about that one, so I'll give it a stab. So
Okay.
basically, these temporary worker visas, which is what the person is referring to, are made to be available for industries where there's a shortage of domestic workers with the qualifications to perform the job.
Okay.
Um, there were times in the late 90s when occasionally someone could bring in a foreign nanny using one of these temporary worker visas because they would, say, for example, um, need experience with autism, and they would advertise for 4 weeks in a newspaper looking for a nanny who has experience working with a child with autism and get no responses. And then they would certify that they couldn't find anybody here, and then go and bring in the person they wanted all along. That doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen not because it can't happen. It's because it's so much work for the employer to put the job description together, advertise for it, prove that they, that no one was responding, because back then they could say no one was calling. Now you have to have an email address, and prove that no one responded to the email address, and then you advertised it here, there, and everywhere. And it just doesn't work.
Right.
There is no shortage of childcare workers. The only shortage there is of people willing to pay the right price for the childcare workers.
Exactly. Now that's the point right there.
Right, right. And believe me, before nannies, it's going to be senior caregivers that families are going to be doing that for, because the senior caregivers tend to work for a whole lot more hours for a whole lot less pay, and it makes it harder to staff those jobs.
Yeah.
So
She said, I don't know if this is the follow up to the question she asked, but she said not temporary, just a standard work visa for an employee.
they're all temporary. A work visa is temporary. It's for a period of time. We have someone that works for us who came and got his college degree in accounting, and he's working for us for 3 years under one of those temporary worker visas. Depending on his circumstances, he could go back to school to get a master's, for example, and then get 3 more years on it. But they're all temporary. They have to be renewed.
Okay.
It's not a green card. A green card
The second part of her
is
that
something
help.
totally different, and those are generally given out by people that have come and worked under these kinds of programs for a period of time. They might have married a U.S. citizen or another green card holder already, and they get sponsored.
Okay. Because that was, I think this is what her question was. Would that help the undocumented situation? About
No,
the
there's really nothing that's going to help that situation. The way that the law is written for it, when we're talking unemployment insurance here, we're not talking paid sick time. Paid sick time, if you are paying your taxes, no matter whether you're legal or not, and you fall into one of those buckets, you can get that benefit. But the unemployment insurance, the whole system is set up to revolve around supporting people that have legal work authorization in the United States.
Okay.
That's it. That's just it, period.
I have one last question. Um, Sheila wants to know, what about doulas? Can they apply for unemployment as well?
Well, if they're working as independent contractors, they need to follow the regulations that were put forth. I don't have a whole lot of information about that, but it did come out on April 6th of how to do it. Okay. Just because in my world, I don't deal with independent contractors. I deal with people that are employees. But those regulations came out. If you've been declaring your wages and receiving 1099s from the people that you worked for, then you can file for unemployment insurance based upon your prior work history.
Cool. I hope that answered your question.
That's the first time ever, and you may never see it again in your lifetime.
Take advantage of it, ladies.
Right.
Take advantage of it, because these are extenuating circumstances. So take advantage of everything. Even if you don't think that you qualify, apply.
Exactly.
Because you never know the answer that you give, the right it may fall across the right person's desk. Oh, I think they qualify. Check, and here comes your money.
Right.
But trust me, I am applying.
Right.
For sure. For sure. Now, I think that's all the questions that we have. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to be on staff in a minute.
And for everyone who's listening, if you haven't been being paid on the books in the past, please rethink your strategy going forward. Please, please, please. And for everyone that you know that is in that situation, convince them, talk to them, have a conversation, because honestly, I know no one wants to pay taxes, but in times like this, the fact that you paid them comes back to you in spades. And these times, I mean, in 28 years, this is my third catastrophe where, multiple people found themselves out of work at the same time. And when you find yourself out of work at the same time, you know what the competition is trying to find that next job? Yeah, and oh,
Yes.
by the way, how do you demand the best salary when there's five other qualified people and each one's willing to work for a little bit less just because they need to work? So do the right thing. And for the undocumented nannies out there, um, even though you're not in unemployment insurance, if there's ever an opportunity for some kind of amnesty, every single program that's been put forth since 2004 requires at least 3 years of tax returns to put you in line. So if you think that, at some point in time that that's going to be you're going to need to be able to pull out the paper. So, and you would have possibly gotten some of the stimulus money. Your kids would have at least gotten the $500 a kid. You might not have gotten it yourself if you don't have an ITIN, but your children, if they had social security numbers, would have. So it's at the end of the day, it's just the right thing to do. You don't need to do it with Homework Solutions. I hope you do it with Homework Solutions, but there are other competent payroll companies out there too that anyone will help you. But you have to raise your hand and you have to know your worth, and you need to demand that you're treated the right way.
Yes.
So off
Now,
my soapbox.
I'm going to get on mine for a minute. Okay, ladies, this is, listen and hear me well. The people who come and talk with you, that I solicit to talk with you and to give you information, they are volunteering their time. And I personally appreciate it. All I'm asking you is to pass on the information to your families, to go by Homework Solutions on Facebook and like their page. Use the information, take the articles to the parents, because it's usually through an article that the light bulb comes on in the parents' mind, like, who is this company? And they in turn start researching. You know, the millennials like Dr. Google. So give them something to Google. Homework Solutions is offering a COVID-19 special to parents. So when you give them that information, they're telling them, I am going to file, even though you did not pay me on the books, because I need to eat. Give them also the information. Here's a solution to the problem. This is how we can work it out. And guess what? It's not going to cost you all this interest if you wait until way down the line. So be sure to, when you're handing over a problem, hand over a solution to it too. And Homework Solutions has a solution to, that sounded funny. They have a solution to your problem.
Right.
But
Well,
I'm
because
laughing, but I am so
honestly,
serious.
most families truly love their nannies, and this is an unintended consequence. It's not
Yes,
something that they did because they wanted to stab somebody. It's completely like, oh, I never thought this would ever be like a thing. And so given an opportunity to fix it, most families would prefer to fix it and make sure that the nanny that took good care of them is taken care of, and it's not all coming out of their pocket. Some of it has to come out of their pocket. It's
right.
unfortunate, but they should have been paying it in as you went along. But it's important, especially with the length of time that some nannies are going to be out of work, that they have access to this expanded 39 weeks of unemployment benefits.
And especially, it's going to cost them less now
Oh,
than it
for sure.
will down
Yeah.
the road. Don't let IRS come to you,
Yeah. No,
because
always
they,
raise your
they
hand
are quick
first.
to take and slow to give.
Yeah. No, always go to them first.
Yes, yes, yes. Listen to Kathy. She knows what she's done. She's been in this for how many years, Kathy?
28. Scary, isn't it?
See,
I used to be this
almost.
like skinny brunette.
Well, I can't talk.
Yeah, well,
It's starting to come really good right here. That must be my tension spots right there.
Yeah, and this isn't platinum. This is called silver.
But it looks gorgeous on
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Angela. And
You're welcome,
please,
welcome,
anybody that
welcome.
needs more information, go to homeworksolutions.com. Our phone number's there. Give us a call. We've got people like Joe and Mary and Rachel on the phones every day that can work through the situation with you and give you your options.
That's right.
And there, it's been an hour.
It has. I can't believe
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
I'm trying to get this to, there it is. I need this to run on the screen. So before we leave, so everybody closing, you can see this. Get the website and the Facebook page. You can contact them. Phone numbers are there. Make sure that you see that little tab right across there, the little statement. Homework Solutions is offering the COVID-19 special to parents and homework. It's homeworksolutions.com.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Now,
Thank you,
we'll see you
everybody.
all on Monday. And
Okay.
thank you again.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you again.
All right.